The story of startup begins with introducing two young ambitious men, Taek-Il and Sang-Pil. Taek-Il, a fair-haired lad, had just purchased a second-hand motorbike off the internet, but unfortunately it didn't live up to his expectations and eventually conked out. As they attempt to kickstart the engine, the thugs menacingly approach them and destroy his motorcycle's rear-view mirror. Angered, Taek-Il tries to pursue the criminals while riding erratically, making them the target of the police who are on patrol. Soon he ends up crashing into something and falls because of the malfunctioning in his bike. To Taek-Il's dismay, he and Sang-Pil are taken to the police station. Taek-ll's mother, who is revealed to be the former professional volleyball athlete, arrives at the station and reprimands Taek-ll for wasting his school fees on a motorbike. Taek-Il then agonizingly confesses to his mom that he wishes to quit school because he doubts she can finance his tuition. After hearing Taek-il's hurtful words, his mother angrily slapped him in the face. However, the next day, Taek-ll makes a huge decision and decides to flee from his home, simply because he doesn't want to live a life that his mother desires for him. With just $10 in his pocket and no clear direction for his future, he boards a bus. Meanwhile, his mother, who tirelessly works to support their family, tries to locate him by repeatedly calling, yet he doesn't answer her calls. Despite being hard on his Taek-ll, his mother desires a better future for Taek-il and thus sacrifices her own time and resources to pay for his college education. However, Taek-il appears to be oblivious to her wishes and leaves her behind. He arrives in a small town named Gunsan in North Jeolla province. But his day takes an unexpected turn when he runs into a red-haired girl named Kyung-yo and gets punched in the stomach by her for making her angry. Seeking sustenance and a place to rest, he comes across a cheap noodle shop owned by a man named Gong. As Taek-il sits to devour a $3 bowl of noodles, a food courier bursts into the shop and heads straight to the kitchen. The commotion in the kitchen causes Taek-ll's curiosity to peak, but his fear prevents him from inquiring about anything. Later, he spends a peaceful evening at a local bathhouse. In contrast, Sang-Pil is shown residing with his grandmother, who earns their livelihood by cracking nuts for a living. The following morning, Taek-il returns to the noodle shop and is offered a job as a food delivery courier. Gong tells him he must work for at least 3 months before requesting time off, to which Taek-il agrees. He is introduced to a food delivery courier named Guman, who appears careless. Whereas, Sang-Pil is offered a job by Donghua, but the type of work is not revealed yet. Meanwhile, Taek-il is curious about the noodle shop cook after an incident he witnessed yesterday. In the kitchen, he encounters Jio-sok, a physically strong man with a menacing demeanor. Taek-il's rude behavior and harsh words enrage Jio-sok, causing him to violently attack Taek-il until he loses consciousness. When Taek-il awakens, he is shocked to find that Jio-sok is sleeping next to him in the employee dormitory at the noodle shop. The following day, Taek-il begins his new job as a food delivery courier. Despite his tendency to be nosy and talkative, which often annoys Jio-sok, Taek-il seems to get along well with his co-workers. However, he and Jio-sok have a disagreement that results in Jio-sok knocking Taek-il unconscious with a single punch after they make a bet. Meanwhile, Sang-Pil works for Donghua as both a loan shark and a debt collector. He accidentally sees Taek-il's mother while distributing business cards at his job at a loan office and notices that she appears to be in distress. Later, Taek-il is seen delivering food to Kyung-yo, the red-haired girl he encountered at the bus terminal. Due to Taek-il's rude behavior towards Kyung-yo, she became angry and hit him again. The situation escalates when he accidentally touches her breast, causing Kyung-yo to physically attack him. When Taek-il returns home bruised and beaten, Jio-sok can't resist teasing him. Shortly after, Taek-il's phone rings with a video call from Sang-Pil, but since Taek-il is occupied cleaning himself, Jio-sok answers the call. Sang-Pil is taken aback to see Jio-sok, but Taek-il snatches the phone back. Sang-Pil wants to update Taek-il on his mother's struggles, but Taek-il rudely hangs up without a care. Later, Taek-il shares that he was assaulted by a female, causing Jio-sok to mock and laugh at him. Meanwhile, Kyung-yo is confronted by 2 foreign men in her hotel room. She ends up getting into a physical fight and gets severely beaten. As a result, she is forced to flee. While enjoying a break on the rooftop, Taek-il and his colleagues spot Kyung-yo sprinting towards them. Desiring to take his revenge, Taek-il leaps down and intercepts her, only to realize that she is being pursued and threatened by 2 men. Despite the risk of injury, Taek-il bravely comes to Kyung-yo's aid. The commotion caused by the fight prompts the neighboring residents to emerge from their homes, leading the attackers to flee the scene. Taek-il takes Kyung-yo to a diner to treat her injuries and lends her his shoes when he notices that she's barefoot. As the film progresses, we see him becoming more accustomed to his job despite the struggles. One day, Kyung-yo returns his shoes and offers to pay for the meal, but Taek-il refuses. That evening, he receives his first paycheck and plans to treat everyone. Gong suggests he visit his mother, but Taek-il ignores the advice until Jio-sok slaps him and sternly advises him to do so. When Taek-il goes home, he finds a note saying his mother is at work. He then reunites with Sang-Pil and suggests that he should leave his dangerous job as a loan shark. However, Sang-Pil ignores Taek-il's concern. Taek-il then goes to see his mother, who now runs a bakery that she purchased at a cheap price. He tells his mother that he now works at a noodle shop, but she scolds him for not continuing his studies and wasting the money she spent on his education. Despite his mother's pleas, Taek-il leaves after giving her his first salary. Later, a man warns Taek-il's mother that the bakery will be demolished because the previous owner illegally constructed the building. Days later, Sang-Pil is asked to collect a debt from a male shop owner, but he is beaten severely and is quickly taken to the hospital for treatment. On the other hand, Taek-ll is hit by a car and falls to the ground from his motorcycle. However, it turns out that the driver is one of the men who brutally attacked Kyung-yo. Kyung-yo finally secures a job as a waitress at the same noodle shop where Taek-ll works. Upon learning that Kyung-yo has no place to live, the kind-hearted owner, Gong, generously offers her the opportunity to live in the room previously occupied by his late daughter. To celebrate Kyung-yo's arrival as a new employee, the group goes to a karaoke bar for some fun. Upon returning, Taek-il runs into the man who had previously harmed him in the street. He tries to take his revenge, but he is easily overpowered, prompting Jio-sok to step in and smear chips across the man's face. Sang-Pil gets discharged from the hospital and plots revenge against the man who assaulted him. Despite his initial desire for retribution, he ultimately understands that his actions are not right. Later, the man responsible for hurting Taek-ll arrives at the restaurant with a group of hooligans, causing chaos until the ashes from Gong's daughter's cremation are scattered throughout the establishment. Jio-sok's fury ultimately explodes, leading him to viciously attack the gang members. Eventually, Taek-ll and the rest of the workers find out the shocking truth about Jio-sok's past. They are astounded to learn that Jio-sok used to be a gangster boss. He was respected by everyone, even the police. In a flashback, we are shown that Jio-sok was once injured after a fight with his rival. That day, he ended up meeting Gong, who was on the verge of taking his own life due to the loss of his daughter. Jio-sok intervened and convinced Gong to not lose hope and carry on living. Eventually, Jio-sok chose to leave behind his past as a gangster and start life as a cook at Gong's diner. Back in the present, Gong's diner is surrounded by gangsters, but all these men turn out to be Jio-sok's followers. A man named Tae-sung approaches Jio-sok and asks him to resume his position as the leader of their gang due to the constant turmoil caused by rival gangs in their territory. Jio-sok ultimately decides to return to his former career as a gangster boss in order to protect Gong and the rest of the group. Though Gong comprehends Jio-sok's choice, he invites him to return at any time, assuring him that he will always be welcome. Taek-il, on the other hand, is deeply saddened by Jio-sok's departure, as he had come to regard him as a member of his own family, despite their frequent arguments. The next day, Sang-Pil informs Taek-ll that his mother's bakery has been sealed. Upon meeting his mother, he gets to know that the previous building owner had deceived her into buying the land illegally. Taek-il gets annoyed and contacts Jio-sok for assistance. However, Jio-sok suggested that he handle the situation himself. In the meantime, Jio-sok visits the headquarters of a rival gang to end their conflict and respect each other's territory. But the rival gang refuses to accept the offer and chooses violence over peace. This results in Jio-sok beating the gangsters, and he successfully overthrows them. Meanwhile, debt collectors arrive at Taek-il's mother's bakery to collect a debt. Taek-il and Sang-Pil attempt to intervene, but Taek-il mistakenly believes that Sang-Pil is the one who trapped his mother because the debt collectors are from the same office as Sang-Pil, but his mother informs him that she has not borrowed money from Sang-Pil. In the meantime, one of the debt collectors discovers an envelope containing Taek-il's first salary and refuses to return it, even when Taek-ll's mother politely asks. Desperate to reclaim the envelope, Taek-il is prepared to face a beating, but his mother is unwilling to let her son suffer the consequences. So she decides to use her skills as a professional volleyball player. She courageously fights off the debt collectors and successfully retrieves the envelope. On the other hand, Jio-sok is seen visiting a restaurant with Tae-sung and cooking his own food. He then revealed to Tae-sung that his ambition is to become a chef, and that he is going to leave his former life as a gangster behind, to which Tae-sung agrees. Taek-ll reunites with his mom after that incident, and they both decide to stay at Sang-Pil's place for a few days as their house is seized to pay off debts. Despite her bakery still being torn down, Taek-il's mother is overjoyed to have her son back. Things take a better turn for everyone as Dong Hwa determinedly renounces his occupation as a moneylender and debt collector and decides to open a fried chicken shop. Jeo Sok also makes the resolute decision to return to his role as a chef at Gong's diner. Kyungyo becomes Gong's adopted daughter and finally returns to school. The film concludes with a touching scene in which Taek-ll rides his mother on a used motorcycle he purchased. The lesson we can gain from this film is that a mother's devotion is unwavering and will remain undiminished, regardless of the anguish her child may cause her. Ultimately, a home is where we receive the care and devotion of those who cherish us deeply, such as our mothers.